to form some kind of blood stain to prove that, hey, I was a virgin.
And the mother does not get it.
No.
You don't think, or she
No.
just thinks, well, as long as it looks okay.
Yeah. It could be
It's
both.
traditional.
It could be both.
It could be both.
To fulfill traditional expectations. I've had female clients who've had their hymen surgically reattached for fear that they would not bleed in Canada.
I'm sure there's some intergenerational situations.
Yes.
Born in Canada, Indo-Canadian,
Yes.
born here.
Yes.
But your grandmother wasn't.
Yes.
Right? Your grandparents were immigrants,
Yes.
or perhaps your parents were immigrants.
Yes.
So some of that intergenerational, the deep cultural tradition
Yes.
continues?
It does continue. Statistically, it takes 3 generations for someone to assimilate into Canadian culture or into a culture. So if you have first, second generation, and sometimes third generation, the pull, the cultural pull is so strong that there was a study done recently at the University of California in Long Beach, and they surveyed various ethnic men. I think there was a sample of around 300 ethnic men. And they found that these ethnic men would like to date outside of their own culture. But when it came to commitment choices, for example, marriage or children, they went back. They made choices. They went back to their own culture and married people from their own culture.
Are there more problems if someone is from a visible minority than, well, say you're from South Africa or Australia and you marry a Canadian?
Mm-hmm. Yes. I think that...
Because traditionally there's differences, as you know.
Yes, of course, yes. I think that if visible minority is stronger, I think it's stronger because the thing is, these are the people that face these issues, and they face it in a sense that everyone around them, the church that they go to, the community centers they belong to, know one another. And so they're traumatized in a sense of thinking that my actions may not be accepted and may go back to my parents or to the community, and therefore I would be ostracized and not find a suitable partner in that community.
Right.
Yes.
But you can see in a say an Indo-Canadian white girl relationship where the white girl would say, "You're in Canada now. Get a grip." I mean, that isn't how we do things here. You can see the conflict starting.
Well, see, that's the second part of the romantic cultural clash. The Caucasian partner is unaware of this clash that their ethnic partners are facing. And so if they're not cognizant of this, ultimately they say to their ethnic partner, listen, you make a choice. Either it's our love or your culture. And one of the things I say, and one of the things that I'm writing in my manuscript, is that don't do this. Because when you give this type of ultimatum to an ethnic person, that person, in most cases, will go back to his culture.
Really?
Yes.
It's stronger. It's stronger pull. That's strong.
That strong.
We'll come back and talk more about East-West romance. Dr. Faizal Sahukhan is visiting Studio 4. He is a Vancouver-based clinical sexologist and counselor who teaches classes on the complexities of cross-cultural relationships. And there are many in this city. We're a multicultural city, and as I said in the introduction, if you walk down the street, you think, oh, we're fairly colorblind. I grew up in a culture where, in the United States, if a white woman dated a black man publicly, you were considered white trash.
Yes. Yes.
And that wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't that long ago. I mean, if you look historically, as recently as 1880s, there was a anti-miscegenation law to prevent freed black slaves from marrying white people and assimilating into white culture. It was in 1940s that 18 states still upheld this law. It wasn't until 1967 that these laws were invalidated.
They did a study in a classroom with young black elementary children, and they presented them with little white dolls and little black dolls, and said to them, who do you think is smarter, and who would you like to be?
Yes.
And the black children said, I want to be the white doll.
Yes.
And the white doll's smarter, and I want to be, and the teacher said, no, you're black, and this is like you.
Yes.
And don't you want to be like you? No, wanted the white doll.
This is one of the unconscious reasons ethnic people or non-white people get into relationships with white people. It's the sense of improved social status. Ever since the time of colonialism, we've looked upon white people as bright, as beautiful, as socially successful. And so therefore, by mating with and thereby assimilating into white culture, it improves the social status of non-white people.
So as a white woman or white man, you may think in the dating game, are you dating me because I'm white?
Yes, well, yes.
I mean, I don't know if we still think that anymore, but
you know,
perhaps.
the thing is, this is unconscious. People who do this are not even aware that they may be doing this. Not to say that all people who date Caucasian people are thinking this, but a lot of them are.
What are some complications you see? What are some complications you hear about in an Asian person with a white person, and a Japanese woman, a Canadian white man?
Yes, I think there's
Thai,
a lot of concerns. One of
different
the concerns,
cultures, I know.
Yes, one of the concerns is not knowing about another culture, not actually understanding the intricate expectations of that culture, and that leads to a lot of issues. For example, I've had clients, a Japanese girl and a Caucasian man, and Japanese girl did not want premarital sex, and of course after they've been dating for a couple of years, the Caucasian man seduced her, and afterwards she came to therapy with me because of the sense of guilt that she's no longer a virgin. When we brought the Caucasian man into therapy, he said, well, so what? It's sex. It's part of our dating. So the thing is, the different expectations and not knowing these expectations. So one of the things that I say is communication is so important. An open, honest communication. And that's one of the things that predominantly females do not do openly, because the thing is they're afraid of losing the relationship. If I tell him that I cannot do this or my culture says this, he'll walk away. Yes.
And that could be. As you say, sometimes the culture trumps the love.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
What other problems do you see in your practice? Male, female, racism?
Racism is there. In fact, that's one of the reasons, unconsciously, that some people get into cross-cultural relationships, in fact. I had a client, a male, who only dated Caucasian females. Only dated. He just didn't know why he was attracted to Caucasian females. Upon introspection, we realized that when he was growing up here in Vancouver, he faced large amounts of racism from his peers. And in fact, what he was doing is now in his adult life, by dating Caucasian females, he was healing himself from this abuse. He was in fact going back to his perpetrators psychically and showing that I'm dating your quote unquote women, and therefore I'm equal to you.
Same-sex marriage. We're a multicultural city, and as I said in the introduction, if you walk down the street, you think, oh, we're fairly colorblind. I grew up in a culture where white man,
I think there's
Thai,
a lot of concerns. One of
different
the concerns,
cultures, I know.
Yes, one of the concerns is